don't have to be rude.
Clear, you know. In other words, Thomas, this is you. The way you would. Which hand? Are you right or left-handed?
Let's just do it. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Maybe. I totally get that. Like, but even if you turned away, so it's kind of like maybe.
He's not buying it, unload! Mag! Mag! Up.
Nice. Okay, Larry's good? All right, so you're going to give him the cue, right? Yes, sir. Boom! Boom!
We missed completely.
Another one!
22 action, so when they say
space, I mean, hey, I'm just pointing out a fact.
Do you want to switch spots?
I
Hey!
don't want to sit next
You
to
want
him.
to talk survival, huh? Fine. That green boy ain't got you. Got a good idea. Why don't you stick around and ask?
No, you don't have to be rude.
Marker.
It was working with Shane that made it really appealing to me. And I sat down with Shane, and I just think that he's one of the best directors and writers. I mean, I have loved his movies for so long, and I think that he does something that's really interesting and really creative and very new. And he's always trying to surprise the audience, even if it's just with a line or something that just feels very real that we wouldn't normally see on camera. Dr. Casey Brackett is the top in her field. She is an evolutionary biologist. She is essentially a scientist who researches how creatures change and adapt. And she has been in the CIA and the government's basically list of top people to go to if there was ever contact with intelligent life forms. And so this is something she's been waiting for her entire life. Not knowing if it's ever going to happen, but she goes through the whole process, and they bring her in, and they go through the whole thing, and it's been years, and she's, living her life, and all of a sudden, the call comes through. And they need to bring her in because the predator is changing and adapting in a way that they don't know what it means, and they need her expertise. It's definitely terrifying. It's definitely surreal, but at the same time, it ignites something inside of her. It's completing something inside of her that, this is the epitome of what she studies. This is something completely different than everything here on Earth, and that is very exciting for her. But she's running for her life. At one point, she's chasing to capture this predator, and wanting to study it, wanting to see it, wanting to just, even if even if no one ever sees her research, it's just for her. She wants to be up close, communicate, talk with it, touch it, see it. But, you know, at the same time, her life is in danger and she's got to run for her life. The first time that I actually got to see the entire predator fully put together with the mouth and then everything's moving was on set. We were filming something and then they brought the cast into this other room just to see. And it was wild. I had no idea how alive and real it would be. It's identifiable in a human way as well. I mean, it's got arms and legs, it's got a head, so there's something very familiar about it, but at the same time, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's, you know, you think that you know an opponent. You go up against another human, you know what their capabilities are. And you look at this predator and it's got arms and legs and the head, and it seems like it would be human-like, but of course it's not, and its strengths and abilities are so far beyond anything that we could even think about. And I think that's what makes it so terrifying, is that it's so familiar, yet we have no idea how to deal with it and how to survive it. Being on this set unless you're here, you know, you really, it's hard to grasp the scale of these things and how real everything is. You go into the spaceship is real, and the Ark is real, and you know, we actually built an entire forest. I mean, you walk in and it's not just a small little patch. I mean, we built a forest, we built a swamp, and you're here and they're real trees. It's like they built a cliff, and it's inside, and we're here doing it. And you know, you're sitting in the Predator spaceship captain's chair, and it's massive, and those things really help to ground you to the reality of the story you're telling.
I'm a big Shane Black fan since I was a kid, and you know, Shane's which I'd totally forgotten, by the way, you know, because he dies in the beginning. I didn't make the connection that was Shane that's in the Predator, but he asked me if I would play a part. You know, we tried to work together a couple of times, and it didn't work out. And with this one, he said, "Hey, I'm doing Predator. We got this ensemble cast of guys," and he explained it to me, and I just said, "Tell me, you know, where to be." Creating these characters was really kind of the seat of our pants, you know. Wasn't a hell of a lot written down on the page, you know, because there's, I forget how many, but there's a lot of us. There's 6 of us, say. And, you know, if you were to write down what everybody says, we'd have a script that's 250 pages long. And so Shane, you know, he's been writing and doing this long enough. Shane's been writing and doing this long enough that he opted to leave out, you know, a lot of the dialogue, and then we would sort of come up with it on the day, or Shane would, which happened more often, Shane would kind of tell you what he wanted everybody to say. And I thought that was kind of clever. Here's your character. He goes, "I got this other guy, Keegan-Michael Key, and I kind of wanted to pair you two up. I figure you guys were in the same unit together." And Shane is thinking that, and maybe Shane and Keegan came up with this. They said, because I showed up late for rehearsals, I was working on another gig. They said, okay, so basically you guys are in the same unit, and Keegan's character had a friendly fire incident where the truck got turned around and he opened fire with a big grenade launcher or something on his own guys, and he killed everybody except for one guy, and that one guy is you, me. I thought, oh, that's fantastic, you know. So these guys hate each other, but they had to spend 3 years together in the courts, in the military courts, signing affidavits, you know, giving testimony, saying this happened on this date and this hour, and then you know, what'd you do when you woke up that morning? Getting the whole story down for everybody, and all the MPs and the courts and the paperwork, and we sitting in some little MP courthouse, you know, for hours, you know, one bench and one another, and finally one day one of them goes, "Hey, you want to get a cup of coffee?" And that sort of started this relationship that they have. I think what was cool, what Shane told me, was he goes, "I don't want a bunch of guys, you know, who have been cast off and they're kind of bumbling. They're like that in real life. They're antisocial, they can't hold a conversation, you know, Nettles can't talk to a woman. We've all got serious problems, but when it comes time to engage with an enemy, all that goes away and they're like a well-oiled machine." And I thought, yeah, that's great, you know, it's terrific. Because that training doesn't go away. It's ingrained into your muscle memory. It's ingrained into your soul. What would happen if these guys then were to be thrust into extraordinary circumstances where you had this alien hunter come down from another planet, and he's after his own objective, and the two kind of intersect. You know, we've got McKenna who has seen the alien, and the government wants to cover that up. So what's the best way to cover that up is, well, you're crazy, you know. So they throw McKenna in with the loonies. Their costume is a work of genius, or several geniuses. I mean, it takes a lot of people to put together that costume, and they're all brilliant. And they all have to be brilliant for the whole thing to come together and work the way it does. You know, we've got gears, and we got remote control guys working this, and we've got all the sculptors and all the research guys making it look and feel real. The latex guys, I mean, the painters. There's so much that goes into these costumes.
Tell me about the mission. Did you see anything unusual?
Like an alien, you mean?
You saw something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And your men? Someone or something tore them to pieces.
I think they're attempting hybridization. They're upgrading on every planet they visit.
We need to know if you pose a threat.
We're assassins. Isn't posing a threat kind of the point?
Do you know what my job description is? I'm in acquisitions. I look up and I catch what falls out of the sky.
What's on the ship?
Tell me about the mission. Did you see anything unusual?
It's above our pay grade.
Do I get a cookie now?
Look, I get it. Something went down in Mexico. Nobody wants any witnesses. We need to know if you and your men pose a threat.
We're rangers.
Hey, Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
Isn't posing a threat. point.
Predators just don't sit around making hats out of rib cages. They conquered space. But that's not what's on the horizon.
Should I be worried? Riley.
I think you know what is on the ship. The ultimate predators.
Light him up! We may die. We're still here. So come and get us, motherfucker.
The predators have been coming, these aliens, to Earth and hunting us here and there for a while, but now people have noticed. It's now not a secret so much because the government knows what's coming now. They're familiar with predators. They've even established a defense agency dedicated solely to protecting us from and preparing us for a predator incursion, an incident. And this movie is about that incident. They got fractured somehow, something broke. And for whatever reason, they found each other. And I think it's interesting that these sort of oddballs with unbelievable combat skills, but somehow some kind of attitude problem, a sort of dirty dozen, have come together in this way. She's not daunted by much, and the fact is she'll walk through fire if something interests her on the other side of it. So when she sees something that she hasn't studied yet, or that gets her brain going, that's what intrigues and causes her to extend to physical heights and, you know, just big leaps of courage that most people, let alone, you know, a scientist, could never make. To me, it's special because there's a mask that's frickin' cool, and then you take off the mask and it's even cooler. It's a creature that we recognize, that walks like us, that understands us, that has the same kinds of primitive impulses as a human being, but it's clearly not from here. Let's all make them somehow tie together, not stretch it so that they don't lose the spark of what was so great about the original Predator, which was that human quality, which was that as deadly as it wasn't just a wild animal. It had an intelligence and a cunning, and it could look at you and see what you were afraid of and see how to stop and catch you. We're trying to encompass in one movie all the kinds of genre things that we loved, from Johnny Quest all the way through Alien to, you know, Steven Spielberg, and never forgetting the realism and the fact that we have an R rating. So yes, heads come off, man. These predators are gonna slice and dice. They're expert hunters. They do this, no one knows why exactly. We take a stab at it in this movie, explaining a little bit more, but the idea is that it's sort of a vacation for them. For some of us, we would go fishing or hunting. For them, they travel to another world and they put their life on the line. It's kind of like a fear factor for them. These soldiers or hunters or wherever they train, they've got blades that attach to their wrists. They've got infrared cannons that are targeted to their head movements and eye movements that fire plasma blasts. You know, it can take out the side of a mountain. And yet, they always seem to want to play fair somehow. They always want to find an opponent worthy of their skill.